Hi, my name is Ronya and I'm a part of the MECFS team at Arthritis, Pain Support and Emerge ACT. Welcome to our series of videos for family and friends of people living with debilitating fatigue conditions. This series is adapted from our booklet called Information for Family and Friends of People with MECFS, Fibromyalgia, Long COVID and Other Conditions with Debilitating Fatigue, which is available in print and on our website. This video is about the impact debilitating fatigue can have on your relationship and some strategies for managing relationship stress and long-term illness. Debilitating fatigue conditions create great strains on relationships, both intensifying existing sources of stress and creating new ones. The drastic changes brought by illness, together with having less energy, put family and other relationships under great strain. People with debilitating fatigue conditions typically function at 50% or less of their previous level, frequently much less. Trying to do more than their body allows leads to more intense symptoms and sometimes to even more restrictive limits. To the extent that all those around them can accept the limits imposed by illness, they can create a plan for a new type of life. This life requires many adjustments. Practical adjustments include redistribution of household tasks, often increasing the load on the well person. Because they have significantly less energy than before they were ill, people with a debilitating fatigue condition have less time for relationships than they had when healthy, which can create a loss of companionship for both parties. Also, aspects of the illness, such as the unpredictability of symptoms, energy limits, and sensory overload, need adjustments. Like the person in your life, you have experienced the loss of a dream and are challenged to adjust to a different type of life than you had once planned. You have lost some part of companionship you once had and instead may have taken on new responsibilities. Serious illness puts families under great stress, and good communication can be one of the casualties. You'll find on the screen here some tips on how to improve communication with the person in your life who has a debilitating fatigue condition. A strategy for nurturing relationships and keeping discussions of issues in a problem-solving context is to set aside time regularly to discuss the relationship you have with the person in your life who is ill. One couple in our program calls it their talk night. They set aside Sunday evenings as a time to discuss any issue that is on their minds. For talk night type conversations or other important conversations, we suggest you pick a time when both of you will be at your best. Find a time when you can give good attention and the person who is ill will not be distracted by pain or brain fog, so preferably during their best hours of the day. To create an atmosphere of cooperation, consider having each person acknowledge their part in shared problems and express appreciation for the other's efforts. Also consider having each person ask, "What can I do to make your life easier?" And each person state, "Here are some things you can do to make my life easier." The use of counsellors with experience in dealing with people with chronic conditions can be useful to help you set up positive ways of dealing with communication and other everyday tasks that become an issue when someone is chronically ill. This could be undertaken individually, as a couple, or family unit to help improve everyone's understanding of the impact of the illness. Because of pain, reduced energy, or reduced interest, a couple's intimacy is often affected for people with debilitating fatigue conditions, creating another challenge for couples. Couples counselling can be a very positive tool to assist in communicating each partner's feelings around changes to intimacy and sex and how to approach it in this new context of life. Travel is a source of enjoyment and pleasure for many people, but it can be difficult when someone has a debilitating fatigue condition. For most people with these conditions, however, enjoyable travel is possible if some adjustments are made. One foundation for successful travel is realistic expectations. Because the conditions impose limits, and because travel requires more energy than everyday life, people are able to do less now when traveling than when they were healthy, and less on the road than they can do at home. Adjustments to illness might include taking extra rest in the days before a trip starts, taking rest during trips, for example, a 15-minute rest for every 1 or 2 hours of activity, setting limits for how many hours a day to be active, taking a full day of rest after a long drive or plane flight, keeping a flexible schedule to accommodate unforeseen events or higher than expected symptoms, and alternating an activity day with a day of rest. People with debilitating fatigue conditions have told us that they have traveled more successfully after they began planning their trips in great detail. They mentioned using books and the internet to decide what they wanted to see, then set their itinerary based on how much activity they could do. Planning also involved packing ahead of time, and for some people, planning to use wheelchairs or motorized carts in airports. One person said that having a detailed itinerary set in advance helped him resist the temptation to do too much when away from home. People also report having more enjoyable trips when they talk to their travel companions ahead of time about their limits and make a joint plan. The person with debilitating fatigue may need extra rest, so there may be some activities they won't be able to do. They may join in some activities but forgo others. Taking extra rest before, during, and after a trip is a common travel strategy. Store up energy by taking extra rest before a trip, limit symptoms during a trip by taking extra rest while away, and take whatever extra rest is needed after to get back to normal. That's all for this video. The next video in the series is about strategies for taking care of the carer, or ways you can look after yourself when you care for someone with debilitating fatigue. If you or the person living with debilitating fatigue need further support, we are here to help. We have a range of services to support people with chronic conditions. Contact us at mecfs@arthritis.act.org.au or call 0262512055, or you can find further free resources on our website at www.emergeact.org.au.